In the last lesson, we looked at electronic editions and then at a kind of broad-based resource that might contain electronic texts besides other kinds of material, including multimedia. These resources are perhaps best called databases rather than editions, though they can be much more complex than simple databases. We looked last time at the Internet Shakespeare editions, perhaps the most wide-ranging textual site in existence. Go a stage beyond this, and we arrive at a platform like what I have open in front of me, Minds, a resource created by the University of Virginia, offering access to a large range of sites on 19th century literature, each separately created with different structures and purposes, but now offering some degree of common functions. This is the homepage of Minds. The range of recent tags shows the wide variety of materials it contains, and here are just 3 of the many websites to which you can link up from here. One of them, in fact, is one of the most important humanities websites in existence, the William Blake Archive. So Minds is a very wide-ranging resource. In the opposite direction, you can have a focused, integrated website which is created in one go according to an overall plan, so that the different parts are closely linked to each other. The biggest example of an integrated literary website is Vichitra, the online variorum website of the works of Rabindranath Tagore, created by the School of Cultural Texts and Records, Jabalpur University. This is the home page of Vichitra in its English version, and the menu indicates the range of materials and resources that it offers. Images of all the manuscripts and all the printed books and periodicals containing Tagore's works, detailed bibliographical material, metadata in other words, a search engine, and a collation. The collation engine we've already seen in an even more advanced form in our very brief review of Pathadorpam, the textual mirror, in our last lesson, so I won't look at that again, but just point to 2 other features. Here, for instance, is the bibliography. Now, this is one of the several ways of accessing the bibliography, and in this way, I open up a page and then within the page, a pop-up, giving all the details about the Bengali play Ocholayaton, whose collation results, in fact, we looked at in our last lesson. The bibliographical details relating to its presence in the collected works, manuscripts, in a journal, in its first volume form, another volume form, an anthology, and even an adapted play related to it. So this is one way of presenting all this bibliographical material, but where we are accessing it by the title. But we may also want to access it in another form, by date. And for that purpose, the bibliography also provides a timeline, which looks something like this. Each of these illuminated squares indicates a year. And by clicking on the year, you get a full account of all the books which Tagore published in that particular year, divided into 4 sections. So these are very simple kinds of data mining. A more complex kind of data mining is, in fact, collation, which is a kind of sophisticated search. Here you're searching for variations rather than examples of the same thing. In fact, advanced exercises in data mining actually consist of more and more advanced and complex searches, locating the target material in subtler and more refined ways to draw more and more complex conclusions. Through collation, for instance, we can use the results of collation to see how much different versions of the work vary from each other, how close they are to each other, and in this way construct a kind of diagram showing a full family tree of all the versions of the work. Here is a stunning family tree showing the relations between no fewer than 58 manuscript versions of the Canterbury Tales by the 14th century English poet Geoffrey Chaucer, created by another very complex collation program called Collate, currently housed at the University of Saskatchewan in Canada. And in fact, it was Collate that was used also for the electronic edition of Dante's Divine Comedy that we saw in our last session. Another major type of textual data mining consists in proximity searches, progressing to something called topic modeling, which I'll explain in a minute. A proximity search, as the name indicates, is a search not for a single word, but for two or more words in proximity to each other. Say within a span of 10 words, or 25, or 50, or 100 words, wherever we set the limits. The proximity search can be well illustrated from this offshoot, the Early English Books Text Creation Partnership. This is an offshoot of the original EBO, or Early English Books Online database, which provided images of early English books, a vast resource, and the TCP now provides searchable texts of these. Now, let me key in 2 or 3 words from famous soliloquy of Hamlet and see how often these 2 words, to be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer. So the words question and nobler, how often do they occur in close proximity to each other in any writing in the entire period? Well, it happens 8 times, it seems. And one of them is the tragedy of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. You see? But there are apparently 7 other places where the 2 words occur close to each other. If you scale up this exercise, you can identify whole sets of words that occur with more than a certain frequency in the corpus of texts. You can then try to find a connection between them. Do these words, if they occur so often close to each other, relate to a certain particular topic or subject? In this way, you can map the concerns of a particular author, the various ideas and associations entering into his writing, or still more importantly, into the writing of a group of authors, or the entire discourse of an age. Conversely, you can measure the relative frequency or absence of such topics in different writers or periods to draw further conclusions. Let's round up with a few more examples. There's a program called DocuScope, which classifies the English vocabulary in terms of what it calls rhetorical categories. That is to say, the impact the words have on us, the intellectual and emotional traits which they reflect. The works of Shakespeare have been run through the DocuScope lexicon or store of words to measure how much the text of each play contains, or words of the different mental categories, and on that basis to see whether a detailed analysis of the word content bears out our practice of grouping them as comedies, history plays, or tragedies. The results are embodied in this very important article, which is included in your reading matter, but let's quickly take a look at a diagram. I don't have time to explain it, but I'll just point it out to you, and you can look at it as you go through the article. This diagram actually indicates how much certain words occur in the range of Shakespeare's comedies. This diagram is complicated to explain. I won't try to go through that here, but you can find out the implications for yourself. We have here a very effective tool for grouping any body of texts on the basis of the verbal content. The last major kind of data mining that we have time to note is what has been termed distant reading by its eminent innovator, Franco Moretti of Stanford University. It basically involves the use of metadata, about which you've learned in an earlier lesson, on a very large scale to trace patterns in the dates, places of origin, authorship, and circulation of works, which enables us to discern the total movement of books and ideas across whole periods, countries, and continents in a way that would be impossible without a computer. A pioneering project of this kind is the Republic of Letters project at Stanford University. It produced results partly reflected in visuals like this. Republic of Letters actually maps the flow of letters between different intellectual and cultural centers of Europe in the first half of the 18th century. And the results can be visualized in various ways. You have one before you, here's another, and you can go to the website and find out still more of these very attractive visuals, but more importantly, what they imply. This example only uses metadata. A quantum leap is taken when the contents of the text is also taken into account, the actual data, as in Jonathan Stray's Iraq War Logs project, which takes all the reports relating to the Iraq War and tallies what are regarded as the three most important keywords in each of those reports to locate the degree of importance of the subjects indicated by those keywords in the total spectrum of the Iraq War. 3 words is, of course, a very small base to build on. But even this suggests the prospects of mining databases for new kinds of investigation into the material of texts. More work has been undertaken in this field, some of it still at an experimental stage. Much of it is at an experimental stage. But there is a very exciting world opening before us, and I hope that we are now in a position to share it.